there's Victoria. Like bingo.
And right. We are live on YouTube.
Hi, thanks, Derek. We have seconds, I imagine.
Thanks.
And hello to people watching.
I'm sorry?
Who?
Perfect, thank you.
Oh.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
Can we be part of your conversation too? We can hear you on the phone, Victoria.
Sorry about that. I thought I muted myself.
That's okay. All right, it is 2 p.m. Wednesday, May 12th. Welcome to our latest Parks Advisory Committee meeting, and we will call to order. So welcome. I'm so sorry it's a beautiful blue day, but at least hopefully we're sitting happy and joyfully in the meeting, having a bright outlook. So to start, we'll start with a moment of reflection as we prepare for the meeting and the topics at hand. We'll take a moment. Okay. And as always, is there any conflict of interest or pecuniary interest that anyone would like to state or declare? And if you should think so later, that's fine too. Thank you. So we have public participation. We have 3 with us today. Very excited to welcome back Ted Prokopec. He'll be providing us with a presentation as a follow-up to our last meeting regarding the lower campground. And we have 2 deputations, one with Dirk Bauman and also with John Kerr. And new this season, too much Netflix. Today, we are having them live on screen to join us. So that's exciting. So first up for our presentation, we're going to try to keep it to 10 minutes, I'd like to welcome Ted.
Thank you, Marissa. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Looking forward to this.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I think Derek is going to put up a slideshow for me soon. And oh, my screen has just gone wonky here.
It's okay.
There, I'm just trying to get my screen on. As Marissa said, it's a beautiful day out there. It's too bad that we can't be out in the park. Derek, next slide, please. At the April 7th PAC meeting, I was pleased to offer the opportunity to come back to you today and give you a couple of ideas on the layouts of the lower campground. Derek, next slide, please. Before I put those layouts together, though, I looked at a couple of public comments from the master plan itself, the July 2020 master plan, and letters to the editor as they appeared in the Meaford Independent. Those 2 sources tried to give me an inference as to what the public sentiment regarding the park could be. Derek, slide, please. The first is, and I'm just trying to move some screens over so I can see the whole, there it is. Page 43 of the master plan itself. The first set of public comments regard public access, and I think it's worth noting the 3 of them that were made here. First one, keep all areas open to the public with no reserved areas. Number 2, open the entire beach area to the public by removing all waterfront camping. And number 3, maintain public recreation as the park's primary use with camping secondary. Those comments to me indicated that the public is definitely leaning towards a public park versus a campground. Derek, next slide, please. When the public was first made aware of the master plan update, several letters appeared in the Meaford Independent, and these the dates of these letters are noted here, and I updated them on May the 4th just to see if I could find anything else, but there didn't seem to be any additional ones. The letters to the editor of the Meaford Independent, that's unique in that it allows readers to vote like or dislike on the content of that letter. And from the likes and dislikes presented, I tried to determine a pattern of preferences for what the general population in Meaford liked. Derek, next slide, please. I've summarized these letters on this slide. The first letter, remove all waterfront camping. Park was not intended as a revenue source. Over 100 people liked that letter and only 17 disliked it. The second letter, adding campgrounds encroached into public space and shortened the beach for local people, resulting in short-term gain and long-term loss for the community. Just over 100 people liked that, and only 4 disliked the tone of that letter. Letter 3, this writer indicated that they might lose the best, that is the waterfront campsites. Here, there was a majority in favor of that letter by 31 likes, but there was also a significant number who disliked it. And it's noted that letter 3 had far less support than the first 2 letters. Letter 4, they liked the waterfront campsites and they liked the natural areas, but not at the expense of camping. In this case, the public disliked that letter by a tune of 18 to 11. And finally, letter 5, the park was primarily to give people access to a beach. Similar to the letters 1 and 2, a vast majority, 67, liked that letter and only 3 disliked it. Derek, slide please. I took the tallies, the likes and dislikes for those 5 letters, and I broke them into categories, preferring a waterfront public park versus preferring waterfront camping. I had over 300 people supported a waterfront public park and only 66 waterfront camping. Percentage-wise, that's just over 80% want the public park versus 18% for waterfront camping. Derek, slide please. Possible inferences that I got from both the master plan study comments and the letters to the editor are thus. Number 1, the public prefers open access to the entire beachfront. Number 2, the public does not support waterfront campsites at the expense of restricting public access to the beach. And the third, public recognizes that revenue will decrease by eliminating waterfront sites. Derek, slide please. Before looking at new layouts, I think it's worthwhile to look at the existing layout of the campground. Derek, if you can just help me out on this one, you've got your pointer. Georgian Bay is where Derek is showing the, if you just wave your pointer a little bit, Derek. Yeah, Georgian Bay is in that area. Waterfront sites 1 to 18. Derek, just show the row of 1 to 18. That's just behind the rock wall. Then below that is in light green is the access road to sites 1 to 18, as well as the back row of camping, sites 19 to 30. On the far west of that, or far left side, that is the west side, there's the existing lower west washroom, just to tie you into what is there now. Derek's next slide. And this is what it looked like most days of the summer. The trailers are backed right onto the Waterfront Trail. Obviously, it can't be used anymore by the public. It's quite a congested piece. Derek, next slide. If I have time, I'd like to talk about the negative comments I received regarding this sign. And they weren't just about the spelling mistake either, but I'll leave that for later on in this presentation if time permits. Derek, next slide, please. I have 2 suggestions for you. One builds on the layout as recommended in the master plan study, and the other one is a far cheaper option. Derek, slide please. This is the layout recommended in the master plan update. Derek, if you can help me out, the front row of waterfront camping has been moved back and it's shown by brown rectangles. There's 15 sites shown back. The access road, which is just below that, Derek, in gray asphalt, that's been relocated a little to the south, thereby eliminating all but 2 sites of the back row. Derek, there's two sites in the left side there. point those out. The washroom is removed as well. What the report does not state is any indication for the green space that is to be come for the between the water and the relocated campsites. There's a considerable area to the west side, that is the left side of this slide, and between the 15 new sites and the waterfront. Derek, next slide, please. All I'm doing here is taking that recommended layout and asking you to consider designating that as a public space. That is could be a public walking trail, could be a picnic area on the left side. The picnic area could be a playground, could be a horseshoe pit. I mean, it's big enough that there's a couple of options that could be done there. And the existing waterfront trail that is in use today could remain. Derek, next slide, please. This is the same slide as the previous, but most of the color has been turned off to give you a little different relationship to the red is the relocated sites, all 17 of them, and the spaces for the passive park features such as a walking trail or a picnic area. Derek, next slide, please. This is slide 9. That is the existing layout of the lower campground, and it's a far cheaper option. I've used it as the base of the slide, removed sites 1 to 18. You can still see them in low intensity below the green. There's a picnic area or playground or whatever to the west end, the left side. And there's a trail and passive park feature between the existing road and the waterfront. Sites 19 to 30 remain, but they should be realigned to better suit RVs. I've also left the lower washroom in because I think it could serve as a function for the day users or the campsite people. So this would permit a fairly large area of green space. Derek, next slide. In text, that option, the cheaper option, is just simply remove sites 1 to 18, adjust 19 to 30 sites to suit the needs for tents and RVs. And I emphasize tents because I believe now that tents aren't permitted in the lower campground during the summer months. And I think that's discriminatory. I think some room should be made for tents. Retain the existing waterfront trail, grass sites 1 to 18 on the west end, install a few benches, and put back the picnic tables that were removed from sites 1 to 18 to use for the general public as day use. Derek, next slide. This is what it could look like. As you see in the lower right-hand corner, there's a couple sitting on a bench right at the edge of the existing trail, just enjoying themselves, looking out in the water. As we move to the center of the picture, there's a mother and 2 of her children underneath an umbrella, sitting on the trail, just playing a bit. Behind the mother to the right, it's hard to make out in this picture, but there's a picnic table. And on that picnic table, there's a camp stove. And on top of the picnic table, there's food and some tablecloths and that sort of thing. I believe they belong to the people, that young family that's sitting on the rocks just to the left of the mother. And in the background, you see a man walking along, and I believe he has a small child beside him. A very passive area, a very pretty park setting. Derek, next slide, please. This is sites 1 to 18. I took this picture earlier this year. It's not very green because the grass hadn't really started coming out. But you can see the opportunity that you have here. There is a waterfront trail, and people regularly use that. There's some grass that's starting to come up in the sites. However, the areas between the grass, the gray areas between the grass, most of that is concrete pads for the trailers or just gravel access. And I'm suggesting that that could all be removed. The existing access road, Derek, if you can point that out, it remains exactly where it is, just on a diagonal. Yeah, you see that? And just behind where Derek is pointing, that is the back row of camping. And I think they should be realigned to better suit RV units. But that permits that road to stay as is. Derek, slide, please. That's it. Thank you for letting me give you these ideas. If you have any questions, please to try to answer them. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Ted. Sorry about that. Very interesting. And I'm sure we will have lots of questions when we start talking about the lower campground. Would you be able to stay a little bit?
Sure, I can.
Okay.
Just give me an indication when you don't want me bothering you anymore.
You can stay the whole time if you'd like. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Next up, Dirk. Oh, is he there? I just, did we lose him?
No,
Oh, there you are.
the unmute button just became available to me. So
Okay.
I think
Great.
I'm online. Good afternoon, everyone. Mine is really simple and quick. I just wanted to talk about the first guiding principle that you edited in your last meeting. All I was asking for is just a quick edit to change the second sentence, to make the second sentiment 2 sentences instead of 1. As the sentence as it reads today, you could mistakenly infer that those 2 concepts work together when they can also work completely independently. So I've just split them into 2. I sent Marissa the exact wording yesterday, so she has it. So I don't know if you want to read it out, Marissa, or I can read it. If you'd like.
If you could read it out, that would be great.
Okay, so your wording states, as is today, Memorial Park is first and foremost a public park. That stays exactly the same. Future changes to camping facilities and occupancy utilization should not displace public use of the park. So what I'm asking for is future changes to camping facilities should not displace public use of the park. And then the second sentiment would be camping occupancy utilization should not displace public use of the park.
All right, thank you, Dirk. Sorry, maybe it'll help if I, just so that everyone sees it, I will try to find that email and copy and paste it with everyone and share with everyone in a few minutes.
Sure.
Did everyone understand what he was referring to? I know it's in the minutes too, so we'll review that when we talk about the minutes in a few minutes. Okay, thank you so much, Dirk. Are you going to stay on, or you can just let me know too?
I can stay on until 3:30.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. And John. Sure, he'll be right with us.
You may just need to call on him again.
What do you mean call him in?
Just because I was switching him over into this side of the meeting. So he may just not know that it's his turn.
Oh, okay. Hi, John. John Kerr, calling John Kerr. I don't see him as participants though. Is he on? Oh, there he is. Okay, so I see him.
He's going over to be a panelist.
Okay. John, if you can hear me. Derek, can you reach out to him?
I can't do any more than you're doing right now. He's here. I'm not sure. And he has full control of his camera and his microphone at this point as a panelist, just like all of you. So there's...
Okay, so John, if you can hear me, on the bottom left-hand, bottom corner of your screen, there should be a mute button, and it may have, oh, are you?
How's that?
Oh, there you are, we can hear you.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You can press, click on the video button too, if you'd like, and then we can see you as well.
Oh.
I forgot to mention that to Dirk, sorry about that.
Okay,
There you are.
good.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you very much. I would just like to say in support of Ted's lesser cost option that, in my opinion, at a cost of 5 campsites, I think that the park is being significantly enhanced, not only for the general public, but also for the people who are using the rest of the campground. There are 110 campsites in the park. And it does seem to me to be just a little bit piggy to basically cut them off from a significant part of what's available or what should be available to everybody. So that's first of all. Secondly, the thing that nobody really wants to talk about out loud, I've found, is money. And I think in focusing only on this one 25% if section of the park, we are doing that a disservice. There are 110 at the moment. There are 110 campsites in the park, and we're talking about what to do with 30 of them. According to the Burnside plan, which everybody here seems to like, and I'm glad of that, we lose, I forget how many exactly, 28, I think it is. Ted's significantly improved plan, because it does give better access to the shore, costs another 5. And frankly, I just want you to keep in mind that that is, I think, not a hugely significant number given the size of the park and the fact that the income from the park derives from all 110 spaces, not just these ones, although I do recognize that they are more costly for the users than the ones in the back corner. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, John. We appreciate your voice and sharing your thoughts and comments with us. Thank you. And you're welcome to stay too, if you'd like.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, our next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting on April 7th. We have a motion to discuss. Who'd move? Has everyone, sorry, I can't hear you, Angela. Okay, I see hands for Angela. Seconder. I think if you guys can maybe unmute now.
I can
And
second.
Victoria. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Anyone have any questions on the minutes or comments? Actually, I do. On the last one, just because we actually ran short of time, and it was in regards to the lower campground, actually, was our last topic. The minutes showed that Harley had moved it, but I had written down in my notes that he retracted it as well. So I don't know if that needs to be revised in the minutes. Margaret?
Marissa, thank you for the comment. If you'd note on the next page, page 8, I think at the top there, it does say withdrawn. So that's just how we did that. So thank you. I'm glad you're so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just
sure
looking.
Everything's good.
Okay, great. That's good. So I'm good with that.
Thank you. And the motion is just to approve the minutes when everybody's comfortable with them, if there are comments. So we do have a mover and a seconder for that. So we will just need a vote once everybody's had a chance to discuss them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. Any discussion, or are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor to pass, hands up, please. And all passed. Okay, thank you. And next exciting item for discussion, the lower campground. And we're going to, this will wrap up our Memorial Park Master Draft Plan Follow-up, COR 2021-A. And we've heard Ted and John speak to the lower campground, so they're on hand if we have any questions that you'd like to ask them as well. But let's start. Yes, Angela, I can't hear you. Oh, sorry, you're mostly?
Yeah, I muted just in case because there's
okay.
Kittens all over the place here. Yeah, so I mean, I agree with the things that Ted had to say. I know that there was quite a bit of uproar about the areas in front of the waterfront campground access being closed off to people. And I think that that's not in line with our vision of the park to be a public park first. And I think that this is an easy solution. If we do go ahead and recommend that the back camp spaces be kept, reconfigured if necessary, and that whole front area becomes an extension of the walking trail as well as public picnic area. And I think that adds a significant amount of value to those lower campground spaces as well, because they do essentially become a water view space at that point. So you can increase the cost for those spaces as well. So it's kind of a win-win. We keep a significant portion of the camping spaces, but we're still able to make that a public usable space. And I think that is significant considering how much of the usable sandy beach space has been eroded as well. It just gives more public access and more public space for picnicking and games and things like that. So yeah, I fully agree with everything that Ted had to say.
Okay, thank you. And Steve, I saw your hand up next.
Thank you, Marissa. I have a question for Dirk if he's still on here. I wanted to know, Dirk, to change the sentences that you were doing to change in the wording. Have you intending to take all camping out of Memorial Park? Is that what that is intent to do?
Yeah, let me find that. I'm gonna find the email. Go ahead. Dirk, you're signing in, right?
I think I'm back. Yeah.
Oh, we hear you. And you want to turn your video on if you'd like.
I haven't had hair and makeup today yet, so I'll just pass for that for now. I haven't had a haircut since last September, people. I'm becoming Grizzly Adams over here in Toronto. So to answer your question, no, that's not the intent. What it is trying to address, though, are things like, if someone decides a year from now that the marketing and pricing strategy should change to, try to get 80% occupancy during the week, just like on weekends, then yes, that becomes a huge issue because that will absolutely displace public use. So
Okay.
that's what it's trying to address.
The way you read it, especially the last part, I wish it was, could we get it up in writing, Marissa? Because
yeah, I just open up your chat. I pasted it there.
Okay.
Does everyone know how to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
The last part I thought should not displace public use of the park, camping occupancy. So that's going forward. I'm taking it, Dirk, because that reads that camping shouldn't be in the park as far as I'm concerned.
No, that's not what it's saying. I mean, it's stating that there is camping occupancy. So if there is camping occupancy, then there will be camping in the future.
But it should not displace public use of the park. That I can read that camping should go.
Okay, so maybe the remainder of the park then.
Okay, no, and I'm good with that, Dirk. Thank you.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And Is there anybody else, or can I make another comment?
No, you're good.
Okay. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here because I represent 11,000 people in the municipality. Ted's program gave me 306 people that want the waterfront back, and I respect that. But I know I could get you a list of 10,800 people that want the revenue instead. Having said that, Ted, I thank you for your presentation. It was a good presentation, and I liked the presentation. And I really think it would work. So I'm not saying I'm going to accept it right now, but I think it should be a preferred option going forward from PAC. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, Harley.
Thank you. Thank you, Marissa. And I want to echo Councillor Bartley's thanks to Mr. Prokopec for his presentation. A lot of good work, and thanks, Ted, for that. I also have to represent the over 11,000 residents of our municipality. And we have over about 6,000 property owners in the municipality, and they all get in on the tax situation 4 times a year. So I certainly cannot forget them. However, I cannot forget many of the comments that have come forward from our residents and some of the visitors that express their concerns about open space, green space, use by the public in Memorial Park. Going back to Ted's, I've got kind of a counter proposal to what Ted is suggesting, and it's somewhat similar to his. But if you can look at page 12 of Ted's proposal, use it as a reference. I don't see why we can't compromise in this situation. Yes, we need the revenue. Yes, we need the access to at least view the water. So I would suggest we would keep the 11, what I call internal parking lots, and keep the 6 waterfront lots up in the northwest corner. They will be revenue makers. That would leave us from lots 7 to 18 for green space, for open space, for public space. There'd be at least 250 feet above the shoreline there for the public to enjoy. As I say, that's in the name of compromise. And over the years on council, I've found we've had to compromise many, many times. Sometimes it's the right solution, sometimes it's not. I just wanted to throw that out to the committee. But this is an important issue. Regardless of what I've said, we need more discussion on this. So by all means, Chair Marissa, keep the table open. Let's keep the discussion.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I like that. That's I'd say creative, but I'm surprised it hasn't been brought up before. Yeah, because it's a little bit of both, right? Very premium. Sorry, I'm looking away. Yes, Tom, there you go. You're on mute as well.
Thanks, Marissa. My only comment, I guess, and maybe Rod or Darcy can confirm this, but Ted's proposal, and he talks about the waterfront pathway. Well, it never was a pathway. It was put there recently to fix the erosion of the wall. Because it looks like a pathway, the public has now taken it on that it's a public walkway. And I say, it never was a public walkway. They have the rest of the park to enjoy. That has been Campground as long as I've been a resident of Meaford, which is 65 years. And as I say, I think people are taking it out of context in the sense that because it looks like a pathway, it's been a pathway all along. It hasn't been. And I think either Rod or Darcy can confirm that.
Okay, Rod or Darcy?
Yes, thank you, Marissa. I can confirm what Tom said. It was always green space until last year when we had to deal with the break wall. And because we were trying to get this project done quick, it actually didn't get completed until early May. There wouldn't have been enough time for grass to actually take in that area. So to ensure that camping could occur, what we did is actually just put down, the granular material that you see there right now, so that the people who were renting those campsites could actually use them. But it never has been a waterfront trail.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, Darcy. And Rod, were you going to say something too?
And just to add to Darcy's comments, it's right. It's actually used as a bit of a splash guard also. So when water does rush up and get over top of the rocks, it does filter through that stone and provides the drainage. So it's actually called a splash guard that actually looks like a trail. So
nice. Thanks, Rod. So I'm just going to go back to Harley just to clarify your concept. Is the back row remains and then the sites 1 to 6, right?
Yes, that was my suggestion, Marissa.
Yeah.
That, the 11 back sites would basically remain the same.
Okay, sorry, I just want to clarify. Thanks. And thanks, Tom, for initiating that comment. Anyone else have anything to add? Yes, Victoria.
I'm just building on Angela's earlier comments about sort of the advantages that we're talking about on Tom's proposal, is that we also really don't know what's going to happen in the long term with the water. And I feel like having this picnic area and the trail and passive park in front of the actual sites that we're going to continue to maintain and invest in would give us that extra buffer for uncertainty in the future.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Right, because the recommendation is that a shoreline engineer will review the shoreline, and from that, the options of what to do with the retaining wall. There were 3 options presented, right? Yeah. And anyone else have any comments? Alan, Anna, Barry. I just wanted to add some thoughts, but let me know if anyone else has some questions or comments. So yes, Ted, thanks for that. Oh, before I forget, the sign. What were you mentioning about the sign? You said or did you mention it already? Is he still here?
I think I'm
okay. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Yes, the sign and more to what the other folks have said. It might be a misinterpretation by the public, but I think if the public, if it looks like a duck, if it walks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's a duck. So if it looks like a trail and you can walk on it like a trail and they use it as a trail, it's a trail. It's also a splash guard, and it's essential to the proper performance of that rock wall. I agree. But with the limestone screenings on it, extending the full frontage of the waterfront, I have seen people use that trail time and time again last year. In fact, up until July 4th of last year, when the campground opened, before that, because of COVID, there was restrictions. Morning, noon, and night, I saw people walking that trail splash guard, whatever you want to call it, but the public used it. They walked right to the end. They were using it today, just before the start of this meeting. Believe it or not, there was 2 people down there swimming. I was quite surprised watching them. They were there swimming. They walked that trail whether they're walking their dog or just passively walking along. And then as they started using it, this is all before July 4th, as they started using that trail, they started bringing a picnic table in, or not a picnic table, a barbecue or a small camp stove. And then the later afternoon or lunchtime, they started setting up, cooking their food and barbecuing. And later in the evening, I saw people doing the same thing. All of that ended on July the 4th when the campground opened, and these people who casually just came in there. And I know revenue is extremely important. I mean, I know it's hugely important, specifically now with COVID. We've got so many problems with cash flow and that sort of thing. We have to make money. But as John Kerr pointed out earlier, there's other campsites in the area that generate revenue. So I don't think looking at it as a revenue source is critical. The negative sentiments people expressed to me starting July 4th when they saw that sign go up restricting their use. I know there was no room for the RVs, but they were annoyed because for May, June, and the first few days of July, they used that as a walking trail.
Okay.
So I think if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and sounds like a duck, it's a duck.
Okay, thanks, Ted. Thanks for clarifying that sign. And Rod, did you?
Yeah, just one comment to that. Ted's right. When we did construct that wall, it does look like a trail, and it is a splash guard, and it's a multi-use thing. Before the sign was put up, even Linda last year, there was actually a hedge that ran right to the water's edge, so there was a no access point to the camping area. But the hedge had to be removed when we were doing the work for the rock wall.
Right, good point. Okay, thanks, Rod. Anyone else? Lower campground. Angela, yes.
Thanks. Yeah, so I just want to say, after hearing what Harley has to say and taking a look at the map here that has been included in Ted's presentation, I mean, I still think that it's essential that we include more green space, especially with the loss of beach. But the idea of keeping that back row and then having maybe sites 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 as sort of an extra premium campsite still available as well, I think that's a really, really good compromise. And I think that allows us to have sites 1 to 6 as well as the back row all be premium waterfront sites while still incorporating more public space. I think that is a really excellent way to go with this.
Yeah. And I just I was just doing some math because initially the Burnside proposal was suggesting reducing the sites from 30 to 17. And if you look at the campground revenues from 2019 to 2020, that waterfront revenue is about 117 to 139 respectively. And really, I don't have the numbers from 2018 to 2020 of the capital contribution from the park, but the net profits from 2008 to 2017 was over 100,000. So really, we would almost just break even if we removed the entire front row. Those are the numbers we were given to work with. And so I know that the park profits were going towards capital projects, but if there was a little change and reduction in the waterfront sites, we might just break even, although I don't have the final numbers. So just a thought. And also just wanted to go back to a couple of points that have been integrated and talked about from the beginning with regards to Memorial Park. And just to remind everyone, and Angela had mentioned it earlier too, that we had our vision that we had recommended it being a park first, that the letter from the Moore family noted that first priority is park open space for all to enjoy. And the front row of campers, this is in their letter, should be removed and waterfront area to be reopened to daily use for the public. I'm just going through my notes here. And then the indenture, this was the original agreement from Cyrus Frank Moore in 1953. Lands are to be used as a public park, and town will dedicate a bylaw that the said lands be used as a public park and for no other use. So I just wanted to keep that in perspective. Another analysis that came to my attention is that when you look at the entire park of Memorial Park, 26% of the park is used for camping with the current layout. Now, for a park to say park first, I think it's a little much, but if we do reduce it, I think 20% would be acceptable. And I think it would kind of works out that way if we do reduce the sites, whether it's from 30 to 17 on the lower campground, or actually it works out to 30 to 17 with the way Harley has suggested as well. And I also wanted to note that historically in Thornbury and Collingwood, they each had campgrounds and campsites close to the water, and they no longer do. So for reasons I have not been able to determine, but I just thought it was an interesting history. So they must have done it for a reason. And now people are enjoying beautiful Sunset Point, as well as the campground in Thornbury is where the labyrinth is now. So it's very much enjoyed as an open space for the general public. Yes, Harley.
Thank you, Chair Marissa. For the sake of further discussion, why don't I make a recommendation that that we accept the plan, keeping the 11 internal sites and the 6 furthest to the northwest. If I can get a seconder, then we can discuss it.
Yeah.
We can either approve it or reject it, and then go on to something else. But
okay, you want to move?
Yeah, so I will move that.
Yes. Okay.
And Harley, would that include the spaces being removed, turning into green space that's public access?
Harley.
I'm sorry, I was jigging around here. Yeah, that would leave number 7 site to number 18 as public green space.
I'd like to second that.
Okay. So let's continue discussion on that layout. Who has something to say? I know we have lots to say. Do you like it? It's the same ratio from 30 to 17. Yes, we don't know what's going to happen with the retaining wall. It may stay with a guardrail, or it may be naturalized. We're still waiting on future costs. And we have to remember the water line is under there. So who knows what's going to happen to the high water. But anyway, for the idea that I find that's a nice balance. Alan.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I do like Harley's concept there. I'm again not a fan of losing any of the waterfront. However, I don't have an issue with what Harley has suggested there. I'd like to also just ask that consideration may be given for a couple of extra campsites based on what the engineer finds and that. I'm just looking at in terms of the revenue loss and that. So I'm not a fan of that. So I just like that to be taken into consideration when the number of spaces are actually finalized and that. So.
Yeah, and I think that'll be part of the business plan along with the shoreline engineer report.
Otherwise, I support Harley's motion.
Excellent. Thanks, Alan. Tom, Barry, Steve, Victoria. Anyone?
I agree.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think it would just be contingent on whatever the shoreline engineer ends up recommending. But yeah, I think in principle that makes sense.
Okay.
Likewise,
Yeah.
it's an excellent compromise, really. It hopefully will satisfy the wants of both parties, those who are avid campsites and those who want to retain some of the waterfront prime lots. And I think we could probably charge accordingly for those prime lots. And it remains that the other, that's been already mentioned, sites 19 to 30, you'd still have waterfront views.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Steve.
Thank you, Marissa. And again, I'm just going to be the devil's advocate. On your little speech, they've been campsites for 65 years, like Tom said. And all due respect, and you must understand, I respect the Moore family, but the park was handed over to the town and is now the town's responsibility to do with what they see fit. I would think that the Moore family 50 years from now could not come up and say, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. It is out of their hands now, all due respect. And I expect a flood of emails coming in from a few people shortly on what I've just said. But it is the town's responsibility now, not the Moore family. So I will rebuttal that till the cows come home. You must remember that reducing the campsites, which I do like Ted's plan, but I like Harley's even better, is going to cost money, and you may not have the money to fix the rest of the park up going forward. You may not. Just it is an issue that you may run against.
But it looks like we might make 25,000 in paid parking in Memorial Park. Yes, Harley.
That would be seen.
Yeah, I know.
Councillor Bartley's right. The way I figured it, we may be looking at $40,000 less income, but I'm hoping, and I'm almost afraid to use the paid parking, but hopefully there's going to be a bit of revenue there. But I'm thinking if we can make this more of a people area and get a half decent snack shop down at the waterfront, selling ice cream, fries, hot dogs, whatever, that will bring in some more revenue, maybe to counteract the lost camping fees. So I think there's maybe more things to look at than just the camp parking here. I think there is potential to take back a bit of that lost revenue.
Yeah, I agree. And Tom and then Steve.
Yeah, thanks,
Sorry,
Marissa.
Brandon.
I just wanted to bring up again, for some reason, I think we're forgetting that the rest of the park is still there, available for the public to use. And because the water's high right now, everybody's saying, oh, we have no beach and all that kind of stuff. This isn't fixing not having a beach. The water will rescind again, and we will have beach area again. And I think they're missing the whole point that you have 3/4 of beachfront that is public access.
Actually, the public access is 17%. Just so we have that in perspective. Yes, Steve.
17% of what? The beach area?
Of the park area, actually. Sorry.
Okay. Just a comment. You talked about taking the cement slabs out. I think the cement slabs should remain for picnic table area.
Sorry, what cement slabs? Which ones? Sorry.
If you took out sites 7 to 18, they want the cement out and grass planted. I think it would be a real good spot for picnic tables.
Yeah, I missed that. I wasn't even thinking grass, but it would be open space. However, yeah, I love it. Look, like on Sunset Point in Collingwood, they've got, yes, it's grass, but I think, they've got the walkway there too, but there's like nice benches all along. It'll be really nice. I think it's an opportunity to envision something that works for both campers and the general public. Because some people, maybe they don't want to be on the beach. They just want to sit in their chair and enjoy the view higher up. It's a different perspective, right? I saw, actually, I'm just gonna, Brady, I see you there and I keep, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Marissa.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we can continue to let the group provide some comments. I'm just trying to hash out some recommendations because we do need to formalize what we are looking to do here so that I can make the recommendation to council to seek further approval.
Okay.
So I'm just, I'm trying to jot some notes down. So if you keep talking, I'll do my
Okay.
best to try and get something to suggest that gives us a complete direction on this.
Okay, thanks, Brady. Angela.
Yeah, I just wanted to build on what you were saying. I think Steve's idea of leaving the cement pads in there makes the most sense. It has the lowest cost associated with it. And I think that this is also a really good opportunity to create more picnic and more waterfront space for people who are using the upper campground without cutting out space that the people who live locally would be looking to use. So I just wanted to say that. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Annalee.
I really like Councillor Greenfield's idea and compromise, and I think it's really important to provide the space for the public, and as Angela just said, to provide space to the folks who might be using the upper campground as well. I have been to Memorial Park a number of times over the years, on very hot days when it is very well used, and it is hard to get a place to sit on those days with the family, to have a bite to eat, to go for a swim. And I think this is respectful of everyone who wants to use the space, this plan. So I'm supportive of it.
Okay, great. Yeah, and in regards to continue that beautiful vision, Harley, with the snack shack, I think that was an opportunity. I would have loved to see the master plan be a little bit more creative on, you know, what Memorial Park could be and its potential. But I think, you know, it's the RFP that they were given was very strict and outlined the scope of, like, you know, the operational, I thought, and it talked about the expansion on the east side. And so they had to consider, they were given those kind of considerations. So I'm not sure if they had the leeway to be a little bit more creative, but, you know, it's never too late, right? Do we want to discuss this anymore? Brady, do you need anything? Are you ready to share what you've come up with, the recommendations?
Sure, I can try and do this. I was trying to keep notes as quickly as I can on this, but just to clarify your concern, Marissa, just with about the kind of creativity, the consultants actually weren't constrained with that. That's why we brought the public consultation piece. We found that the previous decisions on the campground, generally being through the budget process, kind of did restrict that creativity. So the public commenting period and the review of all those different scenarios, I think that's where it opened up for people to come forward with those suggestions. So
okay,
don't necessarily, yeah, we won't necessarily blame that on the consultant, but maybe just on some of the comments that we didn't receive formally through that.
Fair enough.
For the direction that we need to take to give to council to solicit their input and recommendations on going back to Burnside, I just need to amend the existing wording that's within the current master plan. So currently, major project number 4, reconfiguration of the lower campground, includes the following items. The lower campground can be reconfigured to move sites back from the waterfront to improve safety. Increase the size of sites is also recommended to provide an improved camping experience, and these recommendations would reduce the number of campsites in the lower campground from 30 to 17. So that is what's currently in the document. Based on the conversations that the committee just had, I think there's about 4 bullet points that we need to consider or give to council and potentially to the Burnside team as well. So we would revise these to: the lower campground can be reconfigured to remove its sites from the waterfront with the exception of the northwest corner, bracket, formerly sites 1 to 6, and the reconfiguration of the remaining off-water sites, bracket formerly 19 to 30. The former waterfront sites will be reconfigured into passive parkland and trail system in accordance with accessibility legislation. Washroom and parking capacity associated with the addition of green space to be incorporated into the existing facilities and space. And these recommendations would reduce the number of campsites in the lower campground from 30 to approximately 17 sites. So the first bullet is something that I think everybody acknowledges based on Councillor Greenfield's suggestions. The second bullet about the waterfront sites being reconfigured into passive parkland and trail system in accordance with the accessibility legislation, that is a key piece so that we don't get into the details of saying yes or no to keeping those concrete pads. Obviously, we need to make sure that the lay of the land and everything can permit that. It's obviously, we will try to keep what we can down there to reduce costs and maintain that, but accessibility will dictate that, including the trail. And we will have to work with the Burnside team to see how they want to address the existing road that comes up and out of this parkland area, and how users will use this space from a trail side of things. If a trail comes up that road as well, or a sidewalk, we'll have to add additional accessibility features or direct people to go back towards the Kin Hall and come up the other way. So there's just a bit of design work there for the Burnside team. Within that, the plan suggests the removal of the washroom. However, Mr. Prokopec's one suggestion did include the washroom. So right now, I don't think we need to say yes or no to the washroom, but the Burnside team will have to do a capacity analysis similar to what they did within the rest of the report, saying by changing this use from campers to the open space, it will either mean less washrooms, more washrooms. It's just something that Burnsides need to consider and report back to us, which changes the report in a couple other areas. And similarly with parking capacity, right now, the majority of the campers come to their site with one vehicle. So there would be one vehicle for those 13 sites that are being removed. Whereas if it's people coming to visit us, there will be a parking addition. So I think it's pretty clear that we are not to expand parking area or go into the forest for anything like that. So they'll just have to put a note on the capacity associated with that as well. And I'm just leaving it as approximately 17 sites because Burnside put in a couple different suggested sizes. So we can't definitively say 17 right now, but it could be anywhere as low as probably 12 and anywhere as high as 20 kind of thing. Okay. So we just need the group to confirm those 4 bullet points, and we would, through a resolution, and then I will include that in the report to council.
Is there any way you can put that in the chat so we can read it? Yes, Victoria.
Are we going to include something about the preservation of sites 1 through 6 needing further consultation with the shoreline engineer?
Well, I think that was already in what was that, one of the points regarding the shoreline engineer? Do we need to, I don't know, do we need to do that?
I don't know if that needs to be duplicated here or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can add it. Brady?
To be honest, that is already included as a project. So I think it's driven by what the committee and what the preferred solution is. If we want the preferred solution to have those 6 campfront or waterfront sites, then that is what's really driving what the options are around that shoreline protection system.
I'd love to hear, Rod, what are your thoughts with the waterfront row sites actually? Just because I know the water line goes through there. Oh.
There we go. Yeah, the water line does, it runs fairly close to the shoreline. And again, it feeds the majority of the park, that main water line there. And that's, again, why the rush was when we were having our retaining wall issues, was to get this fixed, because it is providing all the water in the park. So if I was a betting guy, I'd say the water line is actually probably 10 feet to 12 feet off rock retaining wall there. So, you know, depending on what direction the committee goes, you know, we can make anything happen. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rod. Good to know. I didn't realize it was 10 feet. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Brady. So everyone take a moment to take a look at the revised points that Brady had put up. Brady, just a question. So with the washroom and parking capacity, isn't the parking maxed out already? Like the number of spots? Yeah. Do we even need to mention that? Like that won't change, right?
Madam Chair, that there is potential for that. The calculations were based on the number of campsites and the number of vehicles associated with those campsites. And then for the calculation for the square footage, I believe that each user used of the open space and along the waterfront, and they related that back to the number of vehicles as well. So if we add the potential that X amount, dozens, hundreds of people could use this passive space, there would be a calculation for how many vehicles those people could potentially bring to the site to use that space as well. So right now, making the assumption that each trailer has one vehicle, all of those vehicles are accommodated on the existing campsites. But if we get rid of those and add in more people, there's potential that we will need more parking. But the Burnside team would be able to detail that a little bit further for us.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering why we're even mentioning it, because Burnside in these four, you know, the key recommendations, washrooms weren't really, I don't think they were part of it. It was more about site layout. Oh, actually, that's not true. Sorry, never mind. Sorry. Now I'm just looking at it again. Okay, all right. And that doesn't change. Okay, did anyone have any questions, comments? Yes, Annalee.
I'm recalling at the last meeting we talked about with the delegates concern about tree loss down in this lower campground, and I'm just wondering if it would make sense, Brady, to also have a recommendation to address the tree loss. So either woodlot management plan in this area, and it might already be included already in somewhere else in the master plan, but even specifically targeting this area for a succession plan. So just a question.
I think that's a good point, because I know AMP was, that was a big thing for them. I think it's in there. Yeah, the tree management, actually, that's right. It was in their recommendation or revised wording for the lower campground. Can we add that back in? Does everyone see that? Tree management in the lower campground should be the same as for the rest of the park. They should be managed by professional arborists to ensure a healthy forest canopy. Healthy mature trees should not be removed to provide for larger campsites. So that was that they had added in. Great point, Annalee. Yes, Brady.
Yes, Madam Chair, and through you to Annalee, that was the next bullet point that I was going to bring up after we address these four. But I know we discussed this at the last meeting, and I think you guys continued to or chose to add it in. The woodland and trees for the entire park are dealt with through a park-wide recommendation and not specific to those four items. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 related projects in the master list of projects that are related to the woodland and trees, including the development of invasive species management for the park, hazard assessments, protecting trees, what type of trees to plant. Those have been included in the plan for the entire site and not for specific areas. But I believe the last meeting, it was adopted to include the AMP comments for the upper campground. So in order for you to be consistent, then you can add that bullet point in for the lower campground as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's something that may as well keep consistent with that. That's great. Thanks for the reminder. Anything else? Comments, questions? Yes, Brady.
Then the next part of the equation would then be, once you or the committee make the recommendation to look at these 4 bullet points, we can either choose to discuss it right now or after this fact. By changing the recommendations for the lower campground that were included in the preferred concept by the Burnside team, we are changing projects that were scheduled for the next 5 to 10 years away, not immediate term. So if we want to make this open space, I think the committee would also have to make a recommendation as to whether we will continue to use the existing lower campground until basically the assets are no longer functioning for us in that 5 to 10 year window, or to move this project up to reflect what the committee and the public might feel is more of an urgent issue.
What do you guys think? Okay, Angela, Steve.
Yeah, my recommendation would be that we recommend this gets moved up and looked at as more of an urgent issue, because the erosion has caused loss of usable space right now. And in 5 to 10 years from now, we don't know if there's going to be significant beach available or if there's going to be no beach available. We don't, we just can't know exactly what the water is going to do. But and we've seen, issues with like the dog beach, for example. People are already upset that there's such a loss of green space and beach space. So I think that this should be a forefront issue.
Okay. Steve.
Thank you, Marissa. And I hope you're not wanting to move it up for 2021 season, as them campsites are already bought and paid for the year.
Yeah. Good point. Questions, comments? So we have to keep in mind, we're still, the motion is Harley's design. We're going to call it Harley's Park. No. But then also with the new bullet points that we will be recommending, and then also whether we're moving this project or this revised up a year or sooner rather than later. And Barry, yes. I think you had a hand up, Barry? Oh, okay. Angela.
If it's feasible, I think looking at this starting in 2022 would be ideal.
Brady.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think at this stage of the game, we would make the recommendation to do the work and put it that it's recommended by the committee to do sooner than later. But this project would need to be evaluated against all of the other projects as well that are included in there, because there could be a cost of moving this project up at the expense of some of the other trail and forested area improvements or some of the other waterfront improvements that we were hoping to make. So I think just having that general knowledge that the committee recommends that it happen kind of in the near term to reflect the current community's needs or the current usage would be fine for now, and that the Burnside team would then evaluate the proposed projects against the other 95 projects to see where everything fits in.
Okay. That sounds fair. So I think, Rod, were you going to say something as well?
No, I was just gonna agree with Brady there, and something I'd want you to keep in mind though, if you do and council adopts and approves this, is that we would need a bit of time, because we normally start our booking season in February for these sites. So we are going to need some good advance notice that this would be happening. So.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Rod. Yes, Harley.
Thank you, Chair Marissa. Yes, I think the general intention would be as soon as possible, but certainly we don't want to rush anything that's going to interfere with future, physical projects there. We know there has to be underground work with piping and so on and so forth. So let's let's be patient. Let's get everything in a schedule and go ahead appropriately when the appropriate time comes.
But are you agreeing to move it up sooner rather than, yeah, okay, good, okay.
Yep, oh, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, within reason. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So Brady, we're gonna add that tree management blurb on a bullet point?
Yes, Madam Chair, we would add the comments that were provided by AMP and are included in the copy of the COR 2021-A report, that the addition of the bullet point reading tree management in the lower campground should be the same as for the rest of the park, and going on, that would be included as identified within the report.
Okay. So everyone, we've got 5 revised bullet points. Some of them have remained the same. We've got Harley's design, and the recommendation that moving this project up sooner rather than later. Are we actually ready to vote on the lower campground? Oh my God, you know what? This is like the finale. It feels like finale. 2 years in the making, it feels like. So are we ready? All in favor? Raise your hands, please. Okay, hold on. And all opposed? Okay, thank you. And motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Brady, for working so fast to get that out too. Yes, Steve.
Before we leave Memorial Park, do we have to do something with Dirk's comments?
Yes. Okay. Let me just, so I'm just going to look at our chat again. So everyone take a look at that. So he's changed it.
And I don't think we should change it until we see Dirk's haircut.
Dirk, are you going to give us a little peekaboo? All right, first one, future changes to camping facilities should not displace public use of the park. Okay. Camping occupancy utilization should not displace public use of the park. Is everyone clear on that, or would you like Dirk to share his thoughts on that again? Because that was like, hold on. Yes, Victoria.
I see Steve's sort of issue with that wording, in that the way that's worded essentially says camping shouldn't displace public use, in which case it could be interpreted as there should be no camping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Dirk could comment, but it does say ahead of that no, if somebody took it away from me.
Okay, hold on.
It says future changes to camping facilities should not displace public use of the park. So that it's already in there as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, how about, let me see. There's,
I mean, I feel like the intention of that third sentence was, you know, when the waterfront sites are there, then it shouldn't block the waterfront. I feel like that was the intention, but I kind of think I agree with Steve that the third sentence isn't really necessary. I think we're really trying to capture future changes do not displace. And then with our previous motion of keeping the 1 through 6 and 11 or whatever, those sites captures that other part.
Can people hear me?
I just,
don't know.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I have to differ. So my parents, who are both in their 80s, used to go swimming every single day, or almost every single day in the summer. But they don't go weekends anymore, because on weekends the park is full and there's just nowhere to sit on the beach. So if you know, pricing and marketing practices change to attempt full capacity for the whole week, well then the public is very much displaced. So that's what this is trying to address.
Thanks, Dirk. I'm
What
just
and
gonna
we're trying to address that we can't use the park through the week?
No. I'm just suggesting that, you know, capacity has been growing steadily over the last 5 years, right? To the point where it is already displacing people on the weekend. If that mandate continues, then that's going to become a bigger and bigger problem. So Marissa, I sent you a revision already in an email.
Yes, I put it up. It's
Okay.
on the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, future changes. I'm just going to read it out for people. Actually, I should do that. So Dirk has revised it. One option is Memorial Park is first and foremost a public park. Future changes to camping facilities should not displace public use of the park. Camping occupancy utilization should not displace public use of the remainder of the park. Oh, thank you. Got someone on the ball with that. And okay, so everyone else can read that now. Yeah, I'm not, maybe I'm just not understanding. Sorry, Dirk.
Yeah, Dirk, you've got 9 people with puzzled looks in their faces.
Okay.
So you're saying that a full campground will displace use of the park?
I'm saying on busy weekends now, when the campground is full, the public is absolutely already being displaced, right? If there are further efforts in terms of marketing and pricing to increase capacity during the week, then you're also going to displace lots of people all week long as well as on weekends. So I'm suggesting that even with the current configuration of campgrounds, you know, there's already a bit of a balancing act that's fairly tricky if it's you know, a public park first. So I'm not suggesting we start, you know, kicking people out of the campground, but I'm suggesting there needs to be a careful calibration in terms of how you manage the capacity of the existing sites versus public use.
So are you suggesting our goal is not to maximize and book all the campsites?
If that's your goal, then you're by definition displacing public use significantly. That's absolutely true.
But why would we have a campground and not fill the sites? I'm playing devil's advocate.
Well, because because ever since Memorial Park has existed, it hasn't been an issue. But now it is because of occupancy.
Okay, Victoria?
I feel like Dirk's issue, if I'm understanding correctly, is doing things like reduce pricing for during the week to attract more people and more utilization during the week is what he's objecting to. I feel like this is too, it's a bit cart in front of the horse in terms of, I don't know if it would be a problem, like people are always going to be camping and be out on vacation on the weekends more than during the week because people work and have whatever other commitments. So I don't know if it makes sense for us to include that now in the master plan and in this discussion.
Okay, thanks. And with all due respect, Dirk, I understand what you're saying. Like we want to allow the public their space and to enjoy the park as well without being, you know, overrun by campers. However, here we are, we're reducing the campsites. We're wanting to still bring in some revenue and profits to maintain its operational expenses and who knows whatever it can contribute to capital projects. I just think that if you've got an empty site and to not want to fill it, I'm not seeing that. And you know, so that's my take. Okay, Tom and then Darcy. Wow, hi. Tom, yes.
You're still on mute, Tom.
There you
Yeah,
are.
I know. I was trying to, I couldn't get it on muted. Anyways, I don't understand really what Dirk's saying, because I don't think it's because the campground is full that's affecting the space at the beach. The weekends, the public are using the park more than through the week. And that's where you're busy. That's where you're busy. A lot of people that use the upper campground never go to the beach. They're using it as a campground, and they're up in the field and stuff like that. I don't see why filling the campground through the week is going to really affect the beach use, because it's the day users on the weekends that fill up the beach area.
Through the chair, I was going to, Tom beat me to it, which is not a bad thing, because it's good to hear from somebody other than staff the same kind of concern. But more importantly, I think it's, everybody needs to know that, it wasn't that many years ago when we actually had 143 sites. And over the, the last 7-8 years, we've reduced the sites significantly. And, this will reduce the sites even more if this gets approval of council. So the reality is exactly what Tom was talking about. This has nothing to do with campers. It has everything to do with day use. It has everything to do with the public space and the fact that public want, to use that waterfront, and that's what's keeping it busy and making it busy 7 days a week. It is not the campers at all.
Thanks, Darcy. Anyone comment on that? On Dirk's proposed revision to one of the guidelines? Angela.
Well, I do like what Dirk is proposing. I think it would be really nice to be able to limit the number of campers in order to have more space for locals, more capacity for locals, but I don't think that that's within the realm of what PAC is able to recommend. And realistically, I mean, it is a revenue generator. It just doesn't make sense to limit the amount of campers that can be there during the week if the camping spaces are available.
Anyone else? Actually, we haven't even put this in motion. We're just discussing it. Okay. Steve, does that make sense? Or your thoughts?
I actually understand Dirk's concern right now, but I don't think we need to put it in the master plan. I really don't. I think we should leave it the way it is.
Okay, I guess we, unless anyone's opposed or wants to continue talking about it, we can continue on. Okay, we can continue. Oh, Brady, yes. You just show up like a genie.
Thanks, Madam Chair. No, I just wanted to kind of close off this report so you could move on to the next item, because I know some of the items got pushed back from the last meeting, and there's stuff that we need to get onto your agenda as well. So I just wanted to thank everybody for going through this process. I know it seemed tedious at times to debate the words, but this is exactly the level of detail I need to include in a report to council. So that will be my next step. I will take the recommendations and the suggestions from AMP. We will take it to a council meeting probably in June or July, depending on the timing of getting this all put together. And then we will seek council approval on whether they wish for us to continue to go back to Burnside for this or any sort of revision. So keep an eye out for that future report, but thank you for your input on it.
Thank you, Brady, for being patient and hanging in there with us, and Darcy and Rod. It's been a long time coming, so thank you. Next up, I can't wait. Mccarroll Park Master Plan Engagement, Public Engagement Plan. Actually, it's just about 3:30. Does everyone, are we okay continuing? Or does anyone need a break? Okay, Rod.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Chair. I almost hate to bring this up, but we're going to deal with another master plan here at Mccarroll Park. As everyone knows, Mccarroll Park is directly on the water of Georgian Bay along Bayfield Street. It is, for the size of the park, it is one of the most highly utilized parks that we have in Meaford, and provides actually our one and only splash pad. So over the past few years, we've made a few upgrades to the park. We've had some new equipment installed here in the last couple of years. We've done some work to the washroom facility, to spruce them up. New partitions and bring the washrooms up to an AODA standard. So, we've been fortunate through council to get some funding to keep some of the facilities and playground equipment going and running. So the reason for this project is obviously the splash pad, which is one of the largest pieces of infrastructure in the park, is running out of time. The splash pad itself was a wading pool at one time, and it was turned into a splash pad for various reasons. There was reasons to the health unit that had to be changed, so the wading pools were not regulated anymore. So we turned this into a splash pad and did it internally. So what we're doing here is we didn't want to just replace like for like. So what we've done is we've created went to council, asked for money for a master plan, and they supported it 100%. So what I did was went through the purchasing procurement policy and actually went through the engineering roster, and Burnside was the selected vendor to prepare this master plan. So we met with Burnside on site. This was a year ago in the fall. They did an evaluation of the park. They looked at the services that we provide. And in fact, when they're looking at the park, like they're looking at the entire park and the roads and around it, just for pedestrian access and AODA compliance for trails and everything else. So what they've done is created four different designs, that they feel is best, to utilize this space. So what we did was we accepted these designs. We've actually stopped the process because we were at the public engagement session now, and we wanted to make sure we ran the public engagement session through PAC before we hit the public with it. So what we're doing, we're looking after the public engagement side of it. We're doing a couple of different things here. So the first thing is you're going to see, after we get approval for this through PAC, is a big large sign with a QR code directly at Mccarroll Park. And what it was is anyone will be up and snap a picture of the QR code. It will take them directly to the four options. It will let them make any comments about any of the options that are available. Because at the end of the day, the most important part of this is getting the public input. We want their input and how we create this park. So the second one is we're going to put a video actually on the website that we created, and I'd like to play it for PAC here today. It just gives the history of the park, how we got there, how we obtained it. So what I'll do, that will be posted on our website. So what I'll do is I'll ask Derek to just play the video. Unfortunately, it's about 6 minutes long to get the entire project in, so everyone understands what's going on. So
I just need to say before Derek starts, do not get enamored by the quality of acting that we have on this video and the voiceover, because you may recognize the superstar in this video, but you may not. So just be ready.
I will sign autographs after, but okay, Derek. Hi, I'm Rod Willis, Manager of Parks and Facilities for the Municipality of Meaford. We are looking to develop a plan to invest in Mccarroll Park. This area has been identified as one of Meaford's most favorite parks with a long history in our community. As we plan to support this park for future generations, we want to hear from you. Thank you for taking the time to learn about this treasured property, and I hope you will share your feedback with us on what you would like to see in the park's future development. Mccarroll Park is situated directly on the shores of Georgian Bay and is a popular destination for residents and visitors to Meaford. This park provides numerous services including children's playground equipment, picnic areas, a covered shelter, open green space, and a fully accessible public washroom. This park also provides the one and only splash pad in the Municipality of Meaford. The splash pad is a popular spot for families looking to cool off on those hot summer days. The natural beauty of the park, the children's playground, and stunning views of Georgian Bay make Mccarroll Park truly like no other. With the proximity of the park next to the water's edge and close to the downtown core, it also provides economic benefit for many businesses in and around the municipality. Mccarroll Park was formerly known as Willow Park due to the abundance of willow trees on the property. In the early 1900s, the property was home to the Georgian Inn Hotel and Bakery. After the closure of this hotel, the property became home to a large ice harvesting facility, as ice was the primary means of refrigeration for people in this era. Ice was cut and harvested from the shores of Georgian Bay in the wintertime and stored in the former hotel building on the property for people to buy. In the early 1950s, the property was then purchased by the Mccarroll family when the name was officially changed to Mccarroll Park. Tom Mccarroll was the owner of a family pharmacy business in the Barrie area. He enjoyed spending his weekends maintaining the property and also volunteering as a member on the Meaford Parks Board Commission. His passion was horticulture, as you can tell by the many mature trees that dot Mccarroll Park today. The former town of Meaford had taken ownership of Mccarroll Park in the 1960s. Over the years, the town of Meaford continually added new playground equipment into the park for people to enjoy. During the 1960s, a large wading pool was installed. This wading pool was a favorite spot for children to cool down on those hot summer days, as well as learn water safety under the watchful eyes of their parents, right on site. In 1998, the Recreation Committee approved the transformation of the wading pool into a splash pad. With the financial assistance of the Apple Harvest Craft Show and the labor provided by municipal staff, the first splash pad was developed and opened in Meaford. The washroom facility was constructed in 1980 with the assistance of the East Grey Hunters and Anglers. These washrooms are used by park visitors, people walking along Bayfield Street, and that local fisherman looking to catch that trophy fish. These washrooms were reconditioned in 2018 to modernize them to accessibility standards. Over the years, many different service clubs and local businesses contributed to the upgrades of the playground equipment. The Meaford Kiwanis Club made a $15,000 donation to purchase and install the large blue climbing unit located behind the splash pad today. Local businesses such as the former Muxlow's Pharmacy donated money to provide new swings, slides, and even the Mccarroll family had set up a trust fund with the municipality to assist the purchase of new picnic tables and receptacles. Today, with its prime location, playgrounds, mature trees, and splash pad, Mccarroll Park is one of the most popular parks in Meaford. Meaford Council has directed staff to prepare a new overall master plan for Mccarroll Park to ensure it continues to be maintained and improved for future generations to enjoy. As the current equipment and infrastructure reaches the end of its useful life cycle, these types of plans are necessary to ensure that staff have clear direction for future planning and development. This master plan will provide a preliminary layout based on your feedback, legislative requirements, and best practices for park development. These plans normally take several months to develop and several years to implement before construction begins. The plan will also include a high-level costing estimate of the new proposed layout. With a complete plan in place, the municipality can begin to prepare for future budgets, apply for grant opportunities, and prepare fundraising efforts in order to turn this plan into reality. We're going to rely on your feedback to make sure for those of us who love Mccarroll Park have a say in its future. We are going to provide you with some design options that have been developed for Mccarroll Park that you can use as a starting point for your comments. If there are additional services you would like to see in the park, please add it into any one of the comment sections of the plans. One of the legislative requirements for us to meet is accessibility standards, which is why you will see all the walkways, accessible parking spots, and new crosswalks in all of the designs. This will improve access for those utilizing strollers and using assistive mobility devices to maneuver around the park for people to enjoy all of the amenities. This design should look pretty familiar as it is the current layout of the park you know. As you can see, the washroom structure, splash pad, and playground area in the lower right corner with all of the mature trees towards the left of the park. In Design A, you can see the splash pad has been expanded into the lower right corner with the playground equipment moving into the treed area to the left. Walking paths have been added into the design connecting the splash pad, washroom, and playground area. Accessible parking spaces have been created and identified along Parker Street. There is also a new crosswalk at the intersection of Bayfield Street and Parker Street to improve access and safety for pedestrians. In Design B, you can see the splash pad is larger, walkways have been added connecting the splash pad, washrooms, and green spaces, along with the same accessible parking spaces and crosswalk additions as Design A. In this design, you'll notice a series of public art illustrations dotted throughout the park property. This design does not include playground equipment, but instead focuses on the splash pad and creates a beautiful open space, treed, and landscaped area. In Design C, this layout includes a larger splash pad located behind the washroom facility and a series of public art illustrations throughout the park. In this version, there is an added playground area along Parker Street and a small pavilion in the lower right corner for people to enjoy the views of Georgian Bay. As you review the designs, please keep in mind that you don't need to choose one over another. There may be elements from each of the designs that you like or dislike, but we need your input. We want to hear what's important to you and your family about Mccarroll Park, and we need your comments to provide guidance to any future development of this park. Thank you for taking the time to review this and help create the new Mccarroll Park. So,
Great, thanks, Rod. Nice job.
So there you go. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted everyone to keep in mind that this is a high level design. You know, we're not into detailed design or anything else. A lot of it is, you know, what services do we want to provide at Mccarroll Park? You know, personally, I've been around a long time. Tom's been around a long time. You know, there's always been playground equipment down there as long as the municipality's been in control of it, and always a swimming area. So like, let's enhance this, and let's make sure we get all the public feedback we can from this to ensure that they are knowing what they're getting in the future. So,
Love it. Great.
But again, the video itself will be posted to the website. The QR code will just bring you to the 4 maps for the 4 designs, and just for general comments. So we're anticipating keeping this open for 4 weeks. We haven't set the exact dates. I did have dates set, but unfortunately the PAC meeting got shoved back a little bit. So, but yeah, as long as PAC's in support of this, I will set the dates up here fairly quick, and you know, we'll try and tie this in with Parks and Recreation Month in June.
Wait, so what are you asking from us actually?
I'm not asking a lot. I'm just looking for a little bit of feedback, and I want to give you some information on where we're going. You know, as this committee has a lot of development, and I just wanted to say, you know, this is another park that is going to be developed here shortly. So
very exciting. Oh yes, Angela.
Just a question for you, Rod. For the last couple of months, I've been seeing a paid, a sponsored ad on Facebook looking for input on Mccarroll Park. Was that paid for by the municipality?
no.
Okay, I was curious about it because there was sort of an advocates for Mccarroll Park or something to that effect that's been, yeah, I've been seeing it for about 2 months. That's been paid Facebook ad.
We did open up something on Facebook through our communications team, and it was just kind of a preempt to get things going on where we're heading here.
Oh,
and was there any feedback provided from that initiative?
I have not heard of too much feedback yet, but I haven't been in direct contact with Haley. I haven't seen much of her. Actually been working from home, so
yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting to know. But I think, yeah, it's great to have the 4 designs. So, and like you said, just to remind everyone, we don't have to choose one design. You can just take elements from each one. And that's all available on the website and through the QR code, right?
Yes.
So what kind of art installation are you thinking of?
This was actually brought to us by the consultant
Okay.
for the art.
So is it functional art that kids can climb on, or is it like an actual art sculpture? Just wondering how.
Honestly, it was, again, because it's just kind of an overall. They're looking for comments to see if the public is interested in something like that. So yeah.
Okay. And so are there other public consultation processes? Like, is it just that, or are you gonna, yeah, what else is part of the?
So with the stay-at-home order and everything we've been going through for the last, year, this is how we've been kind of performing our public engagement sessions is online. And again, because this is a park, I wanted to give lots of opportunity to, a month's time worth of opportunity to make comment on a park like that. And again, the idea of the QR code is for just somebody walking down Bayfield Street along the park has the opportunity to make comments. So
awesome. And so does it say that on the sign to make a comment, like click here or whatever, and then look at the designs? Okay,
yes.
Great.
Yep.
Okay. And so we have 1 month generally. And Harley.
Thanks, Rod. A great report, and you should do this more often. I really appreciated the history lesson part of it.
Yeah, that was very cool.
Very, very interesting. Rod, can you, maybe you already have, but the accessibility committee will definitely be interested in becoming involved with this process. So can you make sure that Margaret or Hannah have maybe just send them your presentation? That'd be great. I'm sure they'd love to take a look at it.
Yep. No, absolutely happy to do that. So I think it would be more viable if we, we got the public comments, and we let Burnside put the kind of the final design together, and then we get that back to the accessibility committee. Part of the mandate through Burnside is to ensure that all accessibility needs are met. So, yeah.
Okay. And just to confirm, the beach across, Bayfield Beach, that is not part of Mccarroll. It's just purely that area there. Okay, good.
Yes. Okay.
Any questions, comments, suggestions, ideas? Yes, Angela.
Yeah, I just want to say that as a mother with soon to be 3 children under the age of 10, I think this is awesome. I think the splash pad is going to be extremely welcomed. I think this is a really great thing for our community, and I'm really looking forward to working on this one.
For adults too, right?
For adults too, yeah. I mean, there's no law against it, so why not?
Yeah.
So So if I can just put it out there, I envision a little bit. What I see happening is I'm going to be leaning on this committee a lot, especially maybe for part of the fundraising efforts. I'm really hoping I can get some support from this committee when we do come up with the final design and we start our fundraising efforts. Brady and I work pretty close together with the grant opportunities. There's usually grant opportunities coming out, and again, when we're applying for grants, if we can be shovel ready, is when we have a better opportunity to obtain some of these grants. So.
Okay, so just for the work back schedule. So let's say we've got a month to engage the public. Burnside will take all of that work with you and create the first draft of a master plan. This is like deja vu with Memorial Park, right? And then that will also again be presented with an opportunity for the public to chime in again. Or how is that going to be?
No, so what I see happening is we will get the comments from the public. Burnside will put it back together. We'll do it much the same as Center Street. Burnside will actually put a high level costing to this also. And then, a report will go back to council for this. And it can come back to the committee also for the final design. There's still lots of public opportunity to comment when we go into detailed design. We will go back out for a PIC before we ever started that again.
Okay. Good. Anyone questions, concerns, comments? We're good? That's very exciting. Okay. Thanks so much, Rod, for sharing that. It was well worth the wait. Oh,
sorry,
yes.
Can I just interrupt? It would be great as it's an item for consideration. If there was a motion just to sort of support the plan that Rod had brought forward from the public consultation and engagement. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Margaret. I just love talking. So we'll put a motion to go forth. Do we have a mover, Angela? And Barry, was that your hand? Yeah, okay, thank you. And Barry, so all in favor to move forward? Hands up, all hands up. Great. Motion passed. Right on, Rod. Okay, next items for discussion. Darcy, you popped up. Would you like to say something? Okay. I'm just going to make a suggestion here and just wanted to run it by you because right now it is 10 to 4. I know the tobogganing item will likely be a long discussion. How does everyone feel about switching things around where we get an update on the spring remediation plans at Memorial Park and David Johnston, as well as the status of the other municipal park projects, and potentially table tobogganing till next meeting?
Through the chair, I think we've got until 5 o'clock, don't we, for this meeting?
I don't know. I always thought it was supposed to be an hour and a half. That's why I check in at 3:30.
I think we booked it until 4:30. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that was the timing. Now that's at the discretion of the committee, of course, if the timing works to end at 4. I believe the meeting request was until 4:30, but that is 2.5 hours. And again, at the discretion of the committee.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? I know that, okay, so now we go until 4:30. I'm just worried that I think it would be great, like we're coming into summer or summer planning. So if any parks, so I think as part of PAC, getting an update on our local parks would take, I'd love to hear it today and then have tobogganing discussions at the next meeting. Just what do you guys think? I can't hear you.
I agree.
Steve, yeah, Victoria, yeah. Steve?
Well, let's hear the updates and start into the Toboggan Hill.
What? We can't start talking about Toboggan Hill. I mean,
through the chair, sorry, I think Rod probably won't take more than 3 or 4 minutes to go through the update on David Johnston and Memorial Park.
Okay.
And I've got maybe 5 minutes or so on the summary of the other 4 park areas.
Let's
So
get that done. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Rod, you're on.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Johnson Park. I don't know if anyone's been down to see. We are doing some emergency shore work again. The far west side had significant washout again this winter from the high water levels again and the winter storm. So we are putting some retaining stones in around some of our stormwater culverts and building up a retaining wall, to stop the erosion. For the majority of the current area right now at David Johnson, we've actually just kind of carved it out. So it's a safe area for people to access. It's not going to meet accessibility standards, unfortunately. It is we've lost that much shoreline again. But one thing we are doing at David Johnson Park is we are heading east. We are going to make the area much larger. I've actually just got the permit approval through Grace Sobel there last week, and we're going to be grubbing out a few of the trees, the smaller grub trees, just that are suckers and stuff like that. Any larger trees we'll leave for shaded area and areas like that. But we are going to increase the size of David Johnson Park by I would say 100 meters plus. So
100 meters from like the natural end on the east, like where that point is, the point of rocks.
Yep. Yeah.
100
So
meters from
and
that?
we're gonna go around the corner a little bit with the new area.
So when you say you're removing trees, that's the ones that's leaning against the shoreline, like that's.
We are going to remove. Sorry, we are going to be removing just the sucker trees that are growing up through the beach area. The bigger trees we want to leave alone because they are stability for the shoreline. So, and we do want to be able to provide some shaded areas. So I've actually got a contractor on site, and I will walk through it with them, and I will mark each one of the trees that are going to be coming out. So we are going to be providing some additional space for waterfront along there.
Great. Maybe this calls for a park tour. So we'll all contact Rod, or maybe we can arrange a non-group. Oh, wait, we can't. Sorry. I totally forgot. Okay. Yes, Harley.
Thanks again, Chair Marissa. Thanks, Rod. And I hoping this is going to eventually be a good news story, but just last week I had a chance to walk from David Johnson Park down the shoreline to Boucher Street. There's another proposed project in that area that we will not get into today, but I noticed there's actually some sand. A small area of sand down along David Johnson Park, and I think there's great potential there for that beach to come back.
Through Madam Chair. Harley, I completely agree. I'm excited to see some of the turnout right now. Just so everyone is aware, we do have ownership of that waterfront property right down to Boucher Street. So, and again, with future development down there, who knows what will go on further down the walkway.
Okay. Steve, yes.
Rod, can you tell us how much property we own from the high water mark?
Yeah. So when I was down there a few weeks ago, there actually is survey stakes in the ground right now. So if you were to walk into park at David Johnson parking lot, there is kind of a natural path that walks along the top area. That is pretty well our property line in that area, in that general area there. We did walk it. I did walk it with Darcy. We did find a bunch of the survey stakes that are there, and I have pulled it up on the GIS map through the county. So we do own enough area to do some development down there for waterfront access.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Great, thanks. Actually, do you have a design a layout that you can send us?
A layout of the property that we own.
Well, yeah, I guess the vision. So you're just gonna, and it's all gonna be natural, right? So no retaining wall. It's gonna be.
No, there's honestly, Marissa, this is more some emergency repair work that's going on, and you know, and that's why the retaining wall is being put on, because of our, you know, our stormwater outlets are being compromised. And,
no, the retaining wall on the west side is, yeah, that's a given. But no wall, like it's all naturalized.
All naturalized, all down the other way, with a couple of small access points, you know, to get down to the waterfront area.
Okay, and when you tagged the trees already? So if someone were to go down there, we can see what.
No,
when
I have not tagged any of the trees yet. As I said, the contractor is still working on the stone wall. Yep.
Okay. Darcy?
Yeah, I was just going to say the entirety of the park doesn't really have a plan or concept yet.
Okay.
And we haven't even started to work through that. The reason for that is that the long-term expectation is that we're going to be able to work with the developer of the adjoining lands and actually get them to potentially help fund a portion of the works. So that's why nothing's been done yet, because we want to make sure we understand the long-term vision for the development of that land before we really do a whole lot. But Rod and I also have talked about it, and just recognizing that there is such a push for access to water right now. That's why we've got somebody in there to do more work to open up a little bit more property this year, at least. You know, in all reality, we're trying to do this as easy as we can, as cheap as we can, knowing that hopefully the developers will come to the table later on with real cash to help us, you know, fully develop it.
Great. Yeah. Make them pay. Awesome. Very exciting. Thanks for keeping us posted on that. Anyone have any questions or comments on that? Okay. Remediation at Memorial Park.
So again, remediation will be happening. It could be starting as soon as Friday, or the first of next week. I have got permits once again through Grace Sawwell and approved. We are just going to be taking out some of the unsafe trees that are along the shorelines right now. We will be placing stones that will provide the identified area for the leash-free area, to clearly identify that to the public where this area is separated. We're just not doing very much work on the beach itself, as more as just the access point to the shoreline. So.
Sorry, can you repeat that last one? You're not doing what to the beach?
We're not doing a lot of remediation on the beach itself, Marissa. We're doing mainly remediation to the just to the shoreline to provide a safer access to that waterfront area.
Okay, so but all those exposed I don't even know what you call them, the wood, that's all going to be cleared up or whatever. Okay. Yes. And when you say the stones to separate out the dog beach, are you keeping the area the same or reducing it?
No, the area is going to be the same size as what it has been usually for a number of years. So. Okay.
But I know we're talking about the dog beach at our next meeting. Like, I'm just wondering, what if one of the recommendations is to reduce it? Is that easy enough to change?
Then we just move the stones.
Oh,
yes.
Okay then.
Yes.
And okay.
Sorry, if I could say, if the PAC recommends reducing the size of the dog beach, that actually.
I'm just exploring all options.
No, I understand, but if the committee decides to make that motion, that actually needs to go to council for approval first, and then a revision to the actual bylaw, because the bylaw establishes the space.
Right.
So all that needs to change. But yeah, moving the stones is the easy part. It's actually getting approval and then going through bylaw revisions before that could even happen.
Okay, good to know. Thanks, Darcy. Anyone have questions, comments on Mccarroll Park remediation. So it's starting as early as Friday or early next week, removing unsafe trees, making it safer really with those exposed wood and stones to separate out the dog beach. That's exciting. And I like, I don't know if anyone has gone there yet, or I know Annalie has, you've put in the little parking, I don't even know what you call it, stalls. So
yeah, the parking cards have all been installed in anticipation of the paid parking. So
right, and then I noticed you put in 2 big rocks to prevent people from driving in that the moor loop.
Yes.
Yeah, because it got pretty haphazard there. People were parking through the trees. It was like I don't know, it felt like in the 80s really, but
yeah, it did. So the Moore family actually do not use that access any longer. They've created a new access point from their family farm on Swarthmore Drive. Their road was completely washed out down along there. But we in the agreement still have to provide an access point, and that's it right now. So.
Okay. Cool. Anyone questions, comments? Do I need to make a motion on this, Margaret? It's an item, right?
No, thank you, Marissa, for asking.
Okay.
Actually, just an update, so there's no.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Thank you, Rod.
Okay.
Okay. And are you giving the summary? Is Darcy?
I'll do the summary for you. So,
okay.
Frederick Park, it has been naturalized and will remain naturalized at least for the foreseeable future, so the water levels stay high. The parks facility staff were in there earlier this year and cleaned up some of the material. We kind of got a game plan with our own forces now moving forward. Whenever there's big blows that bring more material in, we're able to get rid of it, smooth it out, take a drag across it, and it seems that it's going to be able to work. So at least it's accessible space. It's certainly not perfect, but given the fact that you can't fight Mother Nature, it's probably about as best as we can do at this stage of the game. The washroom is back up and fully operational. The hydro was rerun last year. We're even trying to make sure that we, as best as possible, at least at this stage of the game, keep all of the cobble walkway with all the stone walkway, try and keep it clear, because at one stage it was covered under probably close to a foot of material as well. So it's all been cleaned off also.
Great. And so just to clarify, what happened to the play ground there?
It was removed because we couldn't keep.
Where did it go?
Right now, it's sitting behind the washroom facility, mainly, I believe, at Mccarroll Park at this stage of the game. We do not have a defined location for it to go yet.
Okay.
Legion Park.
Oh, sorry. Angela has a question.
Sorry. Darcy, just a quick question. I know that there was some concern about the back and the north-facing part of that washroom facility, that it could erode to the point where the washroom wouldn't be stable anymore. Has that been fixed?
Yeah, we put extra stone in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And yes, Legion?
So Legion Park right now, I mean, we've got the concept plans that have been approved from council. It's simply a matter of coming up with money. In reality, the first phase of the plan is to develop parking and also to put up public washrooms. Part of that is dependent on the fact that we also need to reconstruct Legion Road itself and actually install the water and sewer servicing on that road that would be needed to service not only the park, but also the development that looks like it's gaining a little bit more steam across the road in the former Legion lands. So there requires servicing upgrades there really before we can kind of pull the trigger on any significant work at Legion Park.
Is there a timeline or an estimated, a moving target?
So, no, certainly the municipality wouldn't be in a position to put servicing down that road ahead of any development. So it's going to be dependent on when the developer might actually be willing to go. And then, in all reality, it's probably, like 2 years after the start of construction before we would do anything in Legion Park itself, because we would not want to make sure that all the servicing actually gets completed, the road gets reconstructed and everything else.
Okay, great, thank you.
St. Vincent Park, again, we've got a master plan for it that's been approved by council. what we're actually working on right now is a concept plan with a orchard developer out that way that might be willing to assist the municipality in funding a portion of a facility that would actually house public washrooms. So this will all come forward to the Parks Advisory Committee once we can get some things ironed out. But at this stage of the game, other than just maintaining the open space, we don't have any immediate funding to do any significant work out there, but we might have a partnership that will help kind of ease the sting of putting a facility up. So
is that, are they sponsoring it? Is that what's happening?
Well, they're potentially looking at joining, like using part of the land for a pump station, and that as part of that pump station, there would also be public washrooms attached to it. So that's kind of what we're working through right now.
Okay. Yes, Angela, sorry. And then
So Darcy, sorry, could you clarify, has a master plan already been approved for St. Vincent Park?
Yep.
Oh.
It was approved last spring, I think.
Okay, and is that available on the website?
I'm sure it is. I don't know exactly where off the top of my head, but I'm sure that we could.
Might be under capital projects.
Okay.
We can get the report, like the final report that had the approved plan, and forward that off to all the members of the Parks Advisory Committee as well.
So does that include an approved final layout for the park?
Generally speaking, yeah. I mean, some of these things might need detailed design, but the concept plan was there as to how it was all going to work.
Okay, and I know that there was some concern about, well, there's big concern about accessibility in that park. So I know that there's some sort of a mandate that we have to have all parks need to be accessible by a certain date. And right now that park is very inaccessible. So is it possible that work will be done to make it accessible before the rest of the plan comes to fruition?
I think that there are certain aspects of different built structures and built form that has to be accessible, but not absolutely everything has to be accessible. So, you know, we're certainly working through that process. And there is a date right now of 2025 from an accessibility standpoint for facilities, but playgrounds and open spaces really don't qualify into that. However, if we're going to do anything new or any new construction, new playgrounds, all that, it will of course have to meet accessibility requirements. So
okay, and my question, I should have been a little bit more clear, was accessibility to actually physically get into the park, because it's very difficult to get in and out of that park right now.
Well, until we have funding to do some major works, then the reality is that most of anything will not change from what's happening right now.
Okay, so just to clarify, by that 2025 date, will the park need to be at least updated so that it's more accessible to get in and out of it?
My understanding is that it will not have to, but luckily for us, Mrs. Margaret, who's in this meeting, is also our accessibility lead, and she might be able to steer us all in the right direction.
Thank you. That's an interesting question, and I will do a little bit of a follow-up to see. I don't believe that there is a requirement for the entrance to the park, but I'm not overly familiar. As I say, it's quite a specific question, so I will look into that and see what information I can find.
Okay, yeah, and the only reason I'm so curious is because for anyone who hasn't seen St. Vincent Park, it's basically a very steep hill to get in and then a whole bunch of trees. So in order to make it accessible, you have to take out all of those trees, which is going to have a significant impact on the park. So I was just curious if that's something that's happening very, very soon or not. So thank you for the update. I appreciate that.
Okay. We'll certainly make sure to get the staff report and the final concept plan sent off to the Parks Advisory Committee this week so you guys can see it. Okay. Leith Beach, there really is no...
sorry, Darcy. Yep. Victoria, did you have a question or comment? I saw your hand up.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, I have a question, but wait, I almost forgot. Okay, right. St. Vincent, I noticed some trees were leaning. Are that going to be taken out or taken care of on the beach?
Go ahead, Rod.
Yeah, we haven't been actually through St. Vincent Park yet. We've been dealing with all the rest of the waterfront areas right now. But when we do, we will address some of the trees that are.
Okay. It's just another secret hidden gem.
Yeah, and
Okay.
lastly, Leith Beach, we don't have any significant plans for that space right now, simply because I believe the planning department is still trying to work through alternative options with the adjoining property owner with regards to what maybe could or couldn't be developed there, or what potential or not potential land swaps, might happen. So at this stage of the game, we have no short-term plans for any significant improvements at that location.
Have you guys proposed things and it's going back and forth, or?
Honestly, we haven't done anything like from a park side of things. This is really up to the planning department to deal with as far as the development of that property. So it's up to them to try and hammer out something with the proponent and then bring it back to council to get approval from council first before we even worry about what we're going to do from a development of the park standpoint.
Okay. Barry.
Darcy, is that adjoining property? Is that where the proposed restaurant was going to be, or you're referring to?
That's correct.
Okay. Right now, just give you an update as to the Leith Park. It's probably one of the more used parks year round. It sees anywhere from 15 to 20 cars throughout the Steelhead run. Of course, well into summer, used as a boat launch. Right now, there's a broken down gate. The fence posts which delineated the parking area are in poor rotted disrepair. My wife and I put out coffee cans, butts only, on the picnic tables. 2 years ago, there wasn't even a picnic table on the beach. We donated a picnic table. The red chair, which is a bit of a tourist attraction, that has been moved right down to the water's edge. The trees are laying on the beach which have been cut down. It's just in a sad, sad state of repairs. It doesn't represent at all what I think Meaford would like to see, and just maintaining the park in a minimum standard. Myself and a Bobcat would fix that beach up in no time at all. And one other question, who is responsible for the north side of the creek? Whose property is that? Is that Gray Sobel or yourselves?
So, through Madam Chair.
That's become just a haven for, again, just garbage disposal. We go in there and totally clean that up week after week after week, not only from the fishermen, but a lot of midnight rendezvous as well. So I'm just curious as to who owns and responsible for that.
Okay, so through Madam Chair, I can help you out here, Barry. We have it in our schedule that actually our guys are taking a tractor over next week. They're working on the Annandale Park, and they're also going to be working on the Leith Beach to do that exact cleanup. The property on the north side of the river is not ours. It does belong to, I've heard Gray Sobel, and I've also heard private landowner, but I can assure you that it's not ours.
Okay, I just want to be responsible for maintenance of it. That's all who I could ask or give a hand to.
Not us.
Okay, fine, thank you. As long as some work is being done on it, because it is really an eyesore. And I know it's used quite a deal and will be further used, of course, by the situation with the influx of number of people coming into this area.
Yeah, let's see a lot of fishing happening there.
And I can assure you, Barry, I've been fishing down there. So
yeah, yeah, it's a nice.
Seen the coffee cans then, Rod.
Okay, thank you for any other update on Leith or any other questions from PAC for any of the park, the projects for Darcy? Okay. Yes, Rod.
So I'm going to give you one more quick update.
Yes.
Just so everyone is aware, we do have some large erosion issues along Bayfield Street, across the road from Mccarroll Park. We actually hired a coastal engineer. They've come in and give us the high risk areas of where the works needs to be happening. So I'm working with this coastal engineer from Tatham Engineering right now. We're going to be putting together a tender to address some of the issues, mainly from about the cannon down to the swimming area.
Okay.
Will be hopefully addressed this year. We were fortunate that we received some grant money that Brady was successful in getting us, and we'll probably be going to council to ask for a little bit more money to address this area with the washout.
So what, oh, I guess you're working with the shoreline or coastal engineer to tell you what is best, what work is needed. Okay, great. Thanks for that update. Anything else from anybody? And just to make note, Victoria had to run, so at 4:15, but we still have quorum. Okay. So it is 4:19. Do you think 10 minutes is enough to talk about the Toboggan Hill? I'm not sure if it makes sense to start otherwise. Thoughts, comments? Angela?
I'd like to hear, I mean, just a little bit about it at least.
Okay, start
and I'm available until 5. So if it goes later, I'm happy to stay later.
Okay. Steve?
I think we should start it. There is some urgency to this. Some councillors want to proceed with a Toboggan Hill, and it takes months to do so. And if we delay it today, it's going to have to come back in a month. It delays council also.
Okay. When is our next meeting, just to confirm? Oh, June 2nd, sorry, right? Yeah. June 2nd, it's right here. Okay. Everyone okay to start it anyway? Oh, Annalee, yes?
Just to note, I need to leave probably in the next 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
So if we're going to go later, I'll just duck out.
Okay.
I have a meeting at 5.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Anyone else have anything, or we can start? Yeah, all right. I guess, Darcy, this is you?
Yes, this is me. So
right.
I hope everybody had a chance to actually read the report that was part of the package. Ultimately, this was brought forward by members of council, specifically because of the issues that we had last year at Beautiful Joe. I think less certainly about the tobogganing, more about the traffic related issues that happened around Edwin Street. Unfortunately, from my perspective, because this is the park side of things, and also within my portfolio, luckily for me, is also risk management. So I look at this more on the actual use of the hill itself, and the fact that there are some design guidelines and standards with regards to toboggan hills. But it's noted in the report kind of what we're looking at, where typically the slope ranges from 21 to 38%. The standard is, for this use is no more than 33%. We also have, a runoff that's about 20 meters long. And typically that runoff would only be good for a hill that has a 33-degree slope with a 3-meter grade change, and our grade change is 8.5 meters. So we would need to have a runoff probably in the range of 50 to 60 meters to actually still be able to use that location, if we even added fill to make sure that it was no more than a 3-to-1 slope. So this really is not a usable location. It's certainly not an approved location. I make sure to make it absolutely clear to council and anybody I'm talking to that this really is not a toboggan hill at Beautiful Joe. It's simply a hill into a park, because it shouldn't be used for tobogganing, and we shouldn't say that it could be, because then it really opens us up to a liability issue. The municipality, as part of the Center Street landfill project, went through quite a design process. I know a number of you were actually involved in that as just public participants at different PICs. And one of the main things that came from those public participation processes was to use that land as a toboggan hill. So as part of phase 1 of the overall plan for the Center Street landfill, that includes developing a proper toboggan hill area with the right run out and maximum slope and so on and so forth. So the reality is, from the municipality's perspective, with properties that we own, it's the only property that makes any kind of sense for a toboggan hill. But certainly there was discussion that was had around the council table as well as part of the motion that was made by Councillor Kentner about reaching out to members of the community and through the Parks Advisory Committee, if anybody knew of an alternate location that was private lands, that maybe the municipality could rent or lease, and then establish a toboggan hill at those locations. So from a municipal standpoint, it really is Center Street kind of, that's the boom or bust, because it's the only real property that we have that could make this work, unless the public knows of another location that we could establish something that also has adequate parking.
Okay. Okay. Anyone have any questions, comments? So basically you're saying this is it unless another property appears that's suitable.
Yeah, I mean, and I really don't know of any other locations that would be suitable. Certainly nothing that we have within our care and control right now.
Okay. Angela.
So I know that's right across from the gates of Kent, is that correct?
Correct.
So have surrounding landowners and homeowners been surveyed about the potential use of this to become a park?
Yeah, so we went through the whole public consultation process and had PICs. Actually, the one neighbor to the, I guess it would be the west or the north, came and was fine. They're actually a young family. The other neighbor on the other side, it's a one of the community group homes, and they didn't have a significant problem with it either. I mean, there's lots of property there. I mean, I think the biggest thing from the neighbor's perspective was just making sure that there was some kind of naturalized fencing or screening. So there's been trees and whatnot that have already been built into the concept plan along the property lines to make sure that there's still privacy between any public use and the private landowners.
And all the parking I see will be in the park and not on the street?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you mind going through the different parts of the park too? So actually, you're asking us phase one is what you're asking in this.
Yes, I mean, the expectation, like, this still isn't short. There's nothing short-term about this process because it's on an old landfill. You have to go through a detailed design. We're then going to have to get approval from the Ministry of the Environment to bring in additional fill to be able to actually still build up certain areas of the property. We already have gone through initial MOE consultation, or they're now called the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, or they've changed their name, but whatever. It's those folks, and the reality is that we can do a bunch of things on the property so long as we don't create impermeable surfaces, because there's, not that there is, but there is a potential where gases need to vent naturally through the land because it was a former landfill. So we couldn't put we can't cap a parking lot, so it couldn't be a paved parking lot. We can't put on like pavilions or structures that would house washrooms where there's concrete pads or anything. So there's certain limitations, but certainly, I mean, it's 11 plus acres of land that was an old landfill, and it's been monitored for close to the last 30 years, and we've had no problems with it. And now it's a perfect time to turn it into green space. Toboggan Hill in the wintertime, the thought process is that it could also, act almost as like an outdoor concert venue kind of, where, because it's a toboggan hill, certainly having trailhead parking there so that people can use it to be able to get down to the water, like down to the river, is an awesome thing, because I've actually walked that property and it's pretty cool being able to get down to the big head through that property. So lots of potential there. And phase one, carries a price tag of, $800,000 to $1 million to get it done. So, it's kind of like all these projects, right? That's the one thing I was going to make note to this committee on, that, the developer won't pay for everything at David Johnston Park, so we're going to have to come to the table with something. And the developer, there is no developer that's going to pay for anything at Mccarroll Park when we have to redo it. And St. Vincent Park and Legion Park and this space. And, you know, we quite quickly got to a wish list that's already $5 million deep. And now we're adding more public space for Memorial Park on top of that. And in all reality, the municipality invests on the capital side of things less than $100,000 a year into parks and open space. And we're talking about needing $5 million. So at some point in time, there's going to have to be some hard decisions made long term about what the priorities are going to be, you know, which piece of property we need to focus on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like this sounds great, but like you said, when you consider funds required and what's must have needs, etc., right? Anyone thoughts, questions? Angela, and then Steve.
I just actually have a question about the proposal for the washroom facilities, Darcy. If I'm understanding correctly, there can never be a permanent washroom facility on this site.
That's correct.
Would the plan then to have porta potties there indefinitely?
That's the reality of the situation. Yeah.
Okay.
So, or some kind of a, you know, maybe not the basic porta potties, but some kind of a,
like the raised one at
really nice ones. Yeah.
Yeah, a really nice portable. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that.
Steve? Was it Steve?
Yeah. Marissa. Just an FYI, the same as the library situation, that was well over a decade deciding about a library. People thought we just pulled it out of our hat the last minute and took it was a decade talking about this. I've been on council 6 years and we've talked about a toboggan hill for 6 years now. We are going to run into insurance issues where they are using it now. And when this is done, this park that at Centerville or at the Center Street dump will be one of the nicest parks you have other than Memorial Park. If you look at the long-term plan, the trails that's on it and the size of it. Darcy, is the hill already there for tobogganing?
There's a start of a hill at least there. I mean, I think it would have to be built up, I think, to get the, you know, enough of a thrill for kids, right? Otherwise, it's not going to be a whole lot of fun for them because there's not significant grade. But I mean, luckily we can't dig down in, but we can. The Ministry of Environment has already said that we can add material to the top of it. So it's just about getting that material and adding it in. And you know, it all depends on the kind of material as well. I mean, I have thoughts long term that. If we got approval, depending on soil testing, you know, we are consistently and constantly doing infrastructure reconstruction projects that involve having to remove a bunch of fill and then put new clean fill in. As long as that road material was not contaminated by oils or gases or whatever, then we might be able to get rid of it there. Same with our ditching material and whatnot. So we might be able to come up with a bunch of fill for, you know, pretty cheap, but it's a matter of getting the plan put in place. So that's really what the first step of this is you know, starting down the engineering path in 2022. And more importantly, because this is a new park and this has been planned more of a regional park, and because of the development that's occurring within the municipality, we can say that there's a good chance that this project can be in large part funded from development charges versus some of the other ones that can't, like Mccarroll Park, because we're just rehabilitating what's there. That's not development charge eligible. This is new space and new parkland, so it certainly could qualify for development charges. So this might be the easiest win of all the parks projects because we might have available funding to do a large portion of the work.
That's what I was about to get to. We've already discussed this and their money could be in the bank for phase 1 now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Oh.
And could we, in anticipation of maybe doing this, start gathering some of this fill?
No, we would have to get all the approvals first before we could do anything like that.
Thank you. So just to let Marissa, you know, or the rest of the pack, there could be money already set aside for this.
Okay. All right. Angela, yeah.
So assuming there's money set aside for this, what's the timeline look like? Could we have a toboggan hill by this winter or by next winter? Or what would that timeline look like if we have the funding for phase one?
I think the reality is probably like December 2023, maybe.
Okay.
And also, I just wanted to ask, what will be done in regards to the tobogganing at Beautiful Joe this winter and next? Will it be restricted? Will there be signage put up preventing people from tobogganing?
I think it's really a decision of council. There is nothing that's saying that our insurer will not insure us.
Okay.
If we allow this to continue to happen. It's simply a matter of the risk that council is willing to take and the potential of significant increased insurance premiums is something negative. I mean, God forbid, I don't want that to happen, but if something, you know, negative happens, then the insurer generally is, you know, unless it's something that completely neglectful on our part, is going to pay out the claim. But as we all know, insurance companies are in the business of making money, so they always find a way to make their money back if they have to pay something out. So that's just what we're up against.
Yes, Harley.
Thank you again, Marissa. Thanks, Darcy. And Darcy, as you have said a number of times before, Beautiful Joe Park is not a toboggan hill. And I really wish there was some way we could get that message across to members of the public. I know how inviting it is, but no, Beautiful Joe Park was never designed to be a toboggan hill. And just on the, just throw out on the subject of development charges come as a result of development. And that again is something that council members have to keep in mind every day. If we don't have development, we don't gather development charges. So just a lot of factors that play a role in these projects.
Okay. Just a quick question too. So the trail from the park, from Center Street Park to Trout Hollow, so that's already been arranged with Gray Sauble Authority, right?
Well, it's actually all our property. We own it right to the water. So like we own right down to the river. So it's simply a matter of, you know, getting those final approvals through the Ministry of Environment based on final design details. It shouldn't be a problem because, you know, the intention is it'll just be a stone dust path. I think that we would try our best through some kind of a design, maybe with at least a couple of switchbacks or mini switchbacks or something to try and make it a little more appealing to the novice kind of hiker. I don't see there's any way possible that we're really going to, like, legitimately going to be able to make it fully accessible to get down to the water because there's a fairly steep incline.
Yeah.
But certainly instead of it just being a straight shot right down the hill, I think we would try and develop something that would provide a bit of a switchback so it's a little bit easier for people to access.
Okay. And sorry, you got me on the park thing to the river. So with Trout Hollow Trail, what of that is actually part of the municipality?
Pretty much
both sides of the river too, or?
No, it's the Trout Hollow. The only thing that the municipality owns with regards to the Trout Hollow is right on this land where these lands go right down to the water's edge.
So that boundary that I'm looking at the map, that's okay.
That's it. Everything else is owned by Gray Sauble, or in some cases, it's actually owned by private individuals who have given access rights to Gray Sauble to allow them to have this trail go through there.
Okay.
But it is a Gray Sauble trail. It's not a municipal trail. So
okay. No, it's that's great. And so what are your thoughts with this multi-use court?
I mean, these things have already been vetted through the public, and council's already approved this master plan, for us to move forward. So
I think I was
it's really
out of the country.
Yeah, it's really just a matter of of us moving forward with this. Honestly, I love the idea of having pickleball out there because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
That's the intention of that. Really is a
Okay.
pickleball / it could also be used for tennis and things like that. But there was a large contingent of folks that came out from the Gates of Kent area who are pickleballers, who kind of made this suggestion that it would be a good location up there. And I completely agree that it would be a great spot.
Awesome. Okay. Any night lights?
I doubt it because I don't think we could, dig in to put the foundations in or the electrical. I mean, we might be able to have some lighting right near the road edge to be able to shine into the parking lot area if necessary, but it certainly wasn't planned because of the limitations on site to be able to put any foundations in.
Okay. Anyone have, yes, Rod.
Just one more quick comment. If you notice that plan, it was actually developed in 3 stages also. So I believe the parking lot and the toboggan hill was developed into stage 1, the surrounding trails, and that was stage 2, and then the pickleball court or the sports court was in the final phase. So.
And well, part of phase 1, yeah, right, the trails, right? Trails and signage, and a portable washroom, 2 of them. Okay. So you're asking us to go forth? Is that what you're asking us to make a recommendation and move forward?
Well, I think,
do we need more time?
It wasn't directly within the recommendation of council, but I know it was certainly the discussion that happened around the council table about making sure to bring this back to the Parks Advisory Committee to see if they had any alternate ideas for, possible locations.
Oh, yeah.
But, that can be, fraught with issues as well because it's private property that you're trying to make sure still maintains the adequate kind of design standards, and then where do you still have everybody park? Are we going to actually put parking on somebody's private land? So, but I mean, if there's somebody out there that has a nice long hill with a great run out,
I don't know if they want the liability
and some vacant land that they want to sell to the municipality, so we could establish it, then maybe there's an opportunity there.
Anyone else chiming in? Do you guys love the idea of a toboggan hill? And I'm assuming no fee. Park first. Questions, comments, yay or nay, concerns? Phase 1, I mean, if you look at the entire project, right, it's, what is it? About 1.7 million. Phase 1 is about 800,000. Yes, Steve.
Yes, Marissa, I think what Darcy's looking for, what Rod's looking for here is if PAC has any serious objections to the thought. Is that
I see.
Darcy or Rod?
Sorry, through the chair, I'm happy to speak to that. I will defer to Darcy on the technical aspect, but he put this report together with a recommendation for a suggestion for the committee, and certainly I think he was putting it out there, as he said, to see if there were alternatives, and if not, perhaps to support the recommendation with a mover and a seconder for consideration. So, pending more discussion, that might be a direction that the committee could take.
Thank you, Margaret. Darcy or Rod, did you want to add? Yeah.
I just think from my perspective, I know council sees this as a bit of a concern and certainly something that they want to have move forward. To Councillor Bartley's comment about, we've been dealing with this for 6 years now. So if the Parks Advisory Committee also feels that this is a solid solution and something that should be maybe expedited to the front of the list to get this project done, because certainly this could become it's more than just about the toboggan hill, right? It becomes a 4-season use in a large regional area, like a regional park. This, I think it was your point, Marissa, about this is, great space long-term and great uses and everything else. In my mind, this should become the priority park for us to work on from a new park design. Like this should trump Legion Park, because we've got servicing issues at Legion Park. It should trump St. Vincent Park, because St. Vincent Park is much smaller. It's also not in the urban area, and it's already, to Angela's point, it's not fully accessible, but it's mostly usable. Whereas this is 11 acres of land that's bare and raw and is being used for anything and has great potential. And certainly with Mccarroll Park, we can keep moving forward ahead with the redevelopment of it, because it's going to be a completely different pot of money to have to try and fund it anyways. But it really depends on whether the Parks Advisory Committee also kind of agrees with that thought process, that this should be a priority project and start moving this one forward, making sure that it becomes the project that's funded in the development charges background study, and that we actually start the engineering early on in 2022.
Okay. Well, I love parks. I'm just actually just going through. Anyone else have any thoughts, questions? Do you like it? And is everyone familiar, first of all, with the Trout Hollow Trail and Big Head River, to put it all into context too? I mean, it's beautiful. Yes, Angela.
I just wanted to give some feedback that I completely agree with Darcy. I think that this is coming from a pot of money that is not really accessible for a lot of other park projects. There's a good chance that that money is already available at a way that makes sense. And I think that with the loss of Memorial Park, a lot of the space in Memorial Park from the beach, this is an opportunity to give a lot more public green space and public usable park space in an area that's going to also be shaded and breezy and enjoyable throughout the hot days without necessarily having that water feature. And I would recommend that we would recommend that this does become a priority. The way that Darcy has worded it, I think is really the way that we should go.
Yes, Harley.
Lady Chair, if I may, through you to Ms. Wilton Segal, we do have a recommendation prepared on our agenda. And Margaret, are you looking for a mover and a seconder and potential acceptance of the recommendation from the committee?
Thank you, Councillor Greenfield. If that's the wish of the committee, that would be great.
Are you proposing to Harley? Yes. Yeah. You're moving it?
Yeah. Yes.
Do we have a seconder? Angela and Anna Lee. Or did you have a question, Anna Lee? Oh, okay. Angela and Anna Lee. Okay, so up for discussion. We are recommending to move forward with phase 1 for Center Park. Are we ready to call it? All in favor, hands up. Okay. All opposed? Or anyone opposed? Okay, great. Motion passed for Center Park phase 1. And it's great timing too, right? With an influx of people moving up. So awesome. I think that wraps everything up. 4:48. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Margaret and Brady and Hannah and Derek hiding in the